Before there were empires, before the history of men was written, when the oceans had already swallowed Atlantis, there was an age of barbarians, an age when men did not ask for mercy, because they knew the gods rarely answered. And in that age, Conan the Cimmerian was born, a child destined one day to wear the crown of Aquilonia and become a king. But his story does not begin with a throne. It does not begin with glory. It begins in fire. The wind howls outside the forge. Sparks fly into the darkness, and a man with powerful hands hammers a sword into being. He is Conan's father. As the glowing steel bends beneath the hammer, he speaks to his son about Crom, the god who lives within the earth. He tells him that once, in the darkness of chaos, the giants deceived Crom and stole from him the Riddle of Steel. Crom was enraged. The earth shook. Fire and wind fell upon the giants, and their bodies became ash. But the gods, in their fury, forgot the secret of steel upon the battlefield, and men found it. Not gods, not giants, only men. The little boy looks at the sword as if he is looking at something sacred. And then his father says, "You must learn its riddle, Conan. You must learn its discipline. For no one in this world can you trust. Not men, not women, not beasts." And he raises the sword. This you can trust. That was Conan's first faith, steel. But that same night, destruction comes. Through the snow, the hoofbeats are heard first. Then the shadows appear. Mounted warriors, dressed like nightmares, descend upon the village bearing the symbol of the Serpent, and among them, Thulsa Doom. A man, or perhaps something more than a man. He does not shout. He does not hurry. His eyes are calm, hypnotic, as if he already knows that everything around him will bend. His men slaughter the village. Fire devours the huts. The snow turns red. Conan's father dies fighting. And then Doom sees the sword. The same sword that only moments before had been a symbol of protection, honor, and strength, passes into the hands of the enemy. And from a sacred object, it becomes an instrument of terror. Before the child's eyes, Doom beheads his mother. Conan cannot move. He cannot scream. He can only watch. And there, amid snow, fire, and blood, the wound is born. Not merely orphanhood, but the first great truth of his life. Everything you love can be lost, and everything you believe to be strength can be turned against you. The child is not killed. He is chained and taken away to the wheel of pain, a wooden mechanism that never stops turning. Day and night Conan pushes. The seasons change, the others disappear, but he continues. Pain builds his body. Slavery hardens his soul. Years pass, and from the wheel, the same man does not emerge. After the Wheel of Pain, Conan is not set free. He merely changes prisons. He is taken to the arenas, where men do not fight for honor, nor for glory. They fight to the death. Before the eyes of the crowd, Conan learns the harshest law of the world. You kill, or you die. Every battle changes him. Every wound hardens him. Every enemy who falls before him builds his legend. Here, the warrior is born. But Conan does not remain a savage beast. His masters see that his strength is worth more when it is joined with knowledge. They teach him languages. They teach him writing. They teach him the world of men, kings, and wars. And then they ask him, Conan, what is best in life? And he answers, to crush your enemies, to see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentations of their women. And then, without explanation, without ceremony, and without mercy, his masters set him free. And then Conan was alone, free, but without a homeland, without a family, without a name in the world of men. He walked through the frozen land until the night swallowed him. And in the darkness, howls were heard. Wolves. They hunted him across the snow, as if nature itself wished to test whether he deserved to live. Conan ran. He fell. He rose again. And then he found an ancient tomb. Inside the earth, among bones and silence, sat a dead king. In his hands, he held a sword. Conan took it. The steel was old, heavy, as if it had waited for him for centuries. And when the wolves came again, Conan no longer ran. He stood his ground. He was no longer a child. He was no longer a slave. He was no longer a spectacle for the arenas. He was a man, alone against the world. And in his hand, he held steel once more. Lost among the frozen mountains, Conan encountered a woman who seemed to be waiting for him. The witch looked at him as if she already knew his past. The serpents, the black sun, the man who had destroyed his family, Thulsa Doom. Conan sought answers. There is a price, barbarian, she told him. And that night, beside the fire, the witch lay with him. Then she whispered, Zamora, the crossroads of the worlds. There you will find what you seek. But in this world, desire and death walk together. And when the witch revealed her true face within the flames, Conan understood something terrible. The road to doom passed through a darkness older than men and kingdoms. And so Conan left the witch. Behind him, he left the fire and her dark words. Before him stretched Zamora, the city of thieves. There, no one asked who you were, only what you were worth, and what could be taken from you. Conan was not searching for gold, He was searching for the serpent, the same symbol he had seen as a child in the snow when Thulsa Doom destroyed his world. And there, in Zamora, he met Valeria. She was not a woman who asked for protection. She was a woman who stood alone in the face of danger, fast, proud, dangerous as a blade. Their paths joined before the Tower of the Serpent. Inside it, they said, was hidden a treasure, the eye of the serpent. But to Conan, the jewel did not matter. What mattered was the sign. For every serpent he found on his road brought him closer to doom. That night, Conan and Valeria entered the tower, not as heroes, as thieves, as wolves in the darkness. And in the depths of the temple, the serpent awoke. Huge, sacred, the guardian of a god who demanded blood. But Conan did not bend. The serpent fell. The eye of the serpent passed into their hands. But that night, Conan did not find only a treasure. He found Valeria. And with her, the road to Thulsa Doom began to open. After the Tower of the Serpent, Conan and Valeria had gold, jewels, and the eye of the serpent. They could have left. They could have lived like kings. But then Osric summoned them. They called him the usurper because he had not inherited the throne. He had taken it with his sword. Once he had been a great conqueror, a man who bent armies and kingdoms. But now he had grown old, and within his own city, a new power was rising. The cult of Thulsa Doom. It was not merely an army, it was faith. People abandoned their homes, their families, even their lives to follow him. Even Osric's daughter had fallen into his hands. And there the true power of Doom could be seen. A king who had once conquered a throne with blood could no longer save even his own child. Osric was not angry that Conan and Valeria had robbed the tower. He laughed. Such daring, such arrogance. I salute you. Before him, he did not see mere thieves. He saw two people who had dared to strike the serpent inside its own nest. He showed them a treasure, gold, jewels, riches enough to make them kings. Bring me back my daughter, he said. Valeria understood the danger at once. She did not want the gold. She wanted to leave. They already had everything they needed. But then the name was spoken. Thulsa Doom. And Conan froze. For this was no longer a mission. This was the man who had burned his village. The man who had taken his mother, his father, his life. To Valeria, Doom was death. To Osric, he was a curse upon his kingdom. But to Conan, he was revenge. And that night, Conan left alone. Not for the gold, not for Osric, but to find Thulsa Doom. In the morning, Valeria woke alone. The bed beside her was empty. At the mountain of power, thousands of followers climbed in silence, dressed in white robes, as if they were going not to a temple, but to a sacrifice. Among them walked Conan, disguised, silent, his eyes fixed on the summit. But the serpent knew its prey. The guards recognized him. They seized him from the crowd, beat him savagely, and dragged him into the inner chambers of the temple. There, before him, sat Thulsa Doom, calm, almost fatherly, as if he did not see an enemy, but a creation of his own. Conan, bound and bloodied, showed him the symbol of the serpents. He reminded him of his village, the fire, his parents, the sword. But Doom was not moved. He did not even remember. To him, the slaughter that had marked Conan's life was merely an old raid. And then he spoke to him of the Riddle of Steel. Conan's father believed that steel was the only power one could trust. But Doom showed him something more terrible, that steel is dead if there is no hand to wield it, and the hand is weak if another controls the mind. He turned his gaze toward a young follower standing at the edge of the cliff. He did not shout at her. He did not command her. He merely made a gesture. And she, serene as if she had heard a god, let her body fall into the void. Then Conan understood. For Doom, power was not the sword. It was faith, obedience, power over flesh and mind. And then Doom told him the harshest truth. I am your steel. I am your father. Because Doom believed that he had made Conan, not with love, but with pain, not with teaching, but with loss. And that is why he did not kill him at once. He sent him into the desert, to the tree of woe, where the body dies slowly and the spirit is tested until it breaks. Conan was not merely hung upon a tree. He was tested. At the tree of woe, beneath the burning sun, his body was draining of life. His blood had dried. His breath came heavy, as if he were wrestling with death itself. And then he saw her, Valeria. He thought she was a hallucination, one last trick of the mind before he disappeared. He laughed weakly, like a man seeing a dream moments before death. But Valeria was real. She took him down from the tree and carried him away. Through stone, dust, and desert, she brought him to an ancient place, a place of dead kings. There, among mounds, standing stones, and forgotten tombs, lived the witch Conan had once encountered, a woman who spoke with the elements of nature and with the spirits of the underworld. Conan was now at the edge. His soul had almost gone. And then Valeria did what no warrior could do. She made a pact. The witch summoned the shadows. The night filled with whispers, and Conan's life began to return. But nothing is given freely in the world of Conan. For him to remain alive, something else had to be lost. And Valeria knew it. From that moment, death no longer hunted Conan. It walked silently beside her. Conan had returned from death. In the land of the mounds, among the barrows and the dead kings, the night was heavy. There, where only moments before Valeria had bought his life with a dark pact, the same place was now preparing for war. They did not know when Doom's men would come. They only knew that they would come. In the silence, Conan and Valeria set traps among the standing stones and ancient graves, ropes hidden in the dust, pits beneath dry branches, stones ready to roll down from the mounds. They did not wait like the hunted. They waited like hunters. And then Mora showed them the way. Not the gate of the mountain of power, not the path of the faithful, but a secret passage lost within the entrails of the mountain. At night, Conan and Valeria painted themselves with dark colours, and they climbed the rocks like shadows. They entered silently into the heart of the mountain. There, in the depths of the temple, Doom's followers celebrated in decadence and intoxication. Flames burned upon the walls. Drums beat slowly. Bodies moved through the smoke like shadows. And at the centre of the hall, in golden vessels, a dark soup was being served, a symbol of the sickness that had become faith. In the distance was Princess Yasmina, the daughter of Osric, hypnotized, empty of will, lost within the power of the serpent. But deeper in the temple, there was him, Thulsa Doom. He had not seen Conan. He did not know that the man he had sent to the Tree of Woe had returned from death. And yet, something changed. At that same moment, Conan and Valeria struck inside the temple. The guards fell silently. The ceremony turned into chaos. The followers scattered amid flames and screams. And then Doom understood. Something that should have been dead had returned. His human face vanished, his body bent, his skin shone in the firelight, and before his followers, Thulsa Doom became a serpent. He did not stay. He did not fight. He slipped into the darkness and vanished into the depths of the mountain. Yasmina was still there. Conan seized her. Valeria stood beside him. Together they broke the ring around them. The halls of Doom filled with fire, smoke, and panic. And in the chaos, Conan and Valeria disappeared once more into the secret passage. They emerged into the night with Osric's daughter. But Doom was not dead. He had escaped. Conan and Valeria had escaped from the Mountain of Power. With them was Princess Yasmina, and behind them, Thulsa Doom had not died. Alive, humiliated, and filled with rage, he swore that the defilers would pay in blood. He did not send an army. He sent his best, 20, perhaps 30 mounted warriors, and before them marched his two strongest generals, Rexor and Thorgrim. By afternoon, they found them at the mounds. In the land of the dead kings, among ancient earthworks, narrow passages, standing stones, and forgotten tombs, Conan, Valeria, and the witch Mora waited. Doom believed he had trapped them, but his arrogance had blinded him. For the mounds were no battlefield for horsemen. They were a labyrinth The horses charged into the narrow passages, and then the slaughter began. Boulders rolled down from the earthworks, ropes snapped tight through the dust, pits opened beneath the hooves, stakes burst up from the ground. Doom's warriors fell one after another before they could even reach Conan, and those who survived the traps were met by Conan's steel and Valeria's blades. Then Rexor and Thorgrim stepped forward. One stood against Conan, the other against Valeria. The battle lasted only a short time. From above, standing on a mound, Thulsa Doom saw his generals fall. Then he turned his gaze to Yasmina, bound to an ancient monolith. If he could not have her, no one would. He took a serpent in his hands. He transformed it into an arrow and sent it to kill her. But Mora raised her shield. A flash opened in the air and the arrow dissolved. Doom screamed. He sent a second arrow, this time at Valeria. But Conan leapt in front of her and stopped it with his shield. And then Doom understood. At the mounds, his power had broken. The battle was lost, and the Lord of the Serpent fled back to the Mountain of Power. Because the war was not over. It had only begun. Doom had fled from the mounds, but he had not yet been defeated. At the Mountain of Power, he was gathering his army again and his thousands of followers. If Conan waited, the serpent would come with all its strength. He had to strike first. Valeria wanted to go with him, but Conan knew this road was his own. He gave her Black Lotus, and when she fell into a deep sleep, he left in the night. But he did not go alone. Yasmina, who had now seen the truth, guided him. Doom did not love her. He had tried to kill her, and so the princess betrayed the serpent. She led him past the guards, past the walls, past the great curtains of the temple, and there, at the top of the stairs, stood Thulsa Doom. He held a torch, and beneath him, in the darkness, 10,000 followers listened to him like a god. Then Conan emerged silently behind him. Doom turned slowly. He was not afraid. He looked at him like a father seeing his child return. And he said, "You have come home again. After all, you are my child." Conan stood motionless. Doom continued, "Who is your father, if not I? Who gave you the will to live?" He approached slowly. "You were nothing, a child sitting in the mud, not even knowing his own name. Did your people give you purpose? Did steel give you purpose?" He smiled. "I gave you purpose. I was the spring from which you flowed." Then he stretched out his hand and fixed his eyes upon Conan. "When I am gone, you will be nothing. What would you be without me? A savage mortal. Look into my eyes." For a moment, Conan seemed to hesitate, and then Doom spoke his final command. "I am the power here. I am the steel. I am the will that created you." Conan did not answer. He remembered his father, his mother, the village in the snow, the wheel, Valeria. And then he understood. Steel by itself is nothing. Flesh that obeys is nothing. True power is the will that does not kneel. He raised the Atlantean sword, and with one clean strike, he beheaded Thulsa Doom. Conan took it, stepped before the followers, and threw it into the crowd. And then the spell was broken. Their god was mortal. One by one, the followers extinguished their torches and vanished into the night. The mountain of power stood empty, and the riddle of steel was solved. Not steel, not fear, not obedience, but will. Doom was dead, but the serpent did not die. The followers vanished into the night, the torches went out, and the mountain of power fell silent. In Doom's place stood Mora. No one knew what she truly was, only that with her the mountain of power did not fade. The followers returned, the torches were lit again, and the serpent found its glory once more. Valeria did not follow Conan. Her debt had come to be paid. She had bought his life from the dead, and now she had to serve them. If she went with him, she would die. Conan understood. He did not speak. He did not hold her back. He took Yasmina and left the mountain of power. He returned her to her father, as he had promised. Doom had fallen. The riddle of steel had been solved. But Conan's road continued, without Valeria. And the serpent had merely changed its skin.